Hey man, it's Chilly Billy Howell on a very chilly, again yet Sunday afternoon. I'm out herfing on a Romeo y Julieta cigar, and my dog Dandy's down beside me, and I'm out here reading American Dirt, a book I've been reading for a while. And gave a tour today, thankfully, 2 hour tour. Some folks from Chicago who were staying in Memphis several days drove down just for a tour. And we're going to head back, but hopefully I convince them to stick around for some tunes this evening. We'll see. Anyway, I am redoing a rant I did yesterday. I was on my way to Helena and recorded about a 7 minute rant that just something had been in my craw. But the bridge was jumpy and ended up being kind of shaky, so I decided to maybe redo it, do it shorter, who knows. Anyway, I've been reading this book, American Dirt, and my number two daughter, who lives out west, has turned into a reader like her dad, and I asked her around Christmas time what was the favorite book she's read this past year. She's read a bunch of them. And anyway, and which one she thought I would like the most, because she knows kind of my predilections and what I like in books. And so anyway, she said American Dirt. And I normally don't read books that are just really famous or that everybody says you got to read. This one was on Oprah's list. New York Times gave it an incredible review. Kirkus Reviews gave it a good one. Also, Stephen King, Lee Child, I think. Anyway, so pretty good reference. But I'd have read it just because my daughter thought I'd like it and gave us something to talk about. So anyway, I was reading it, and it really moved me. It is about, without saying too much, a lady and her son, young son, who are heading to El Norte, Estados Unidos, from Mexico, and they've become migrants, and they were well-to-do, upper middle class family, and Mexico went through some awful narco traffic bullshit, so they are having to travel to the north, and it's all about their dangerous journey. And it really has made me more of an empath or more empathetic to the plight of the marginalized. And it's easy sometimes as conservative to, get real rigid and what I believe, the same for folks on the left, the liberals, get real rigid. Well, I don't want to ever get so rigid that I lose my humanity. And I was commenting when I was in a cigar lounge yesterday in Oxford to a friend of mine who was a bit of a mentor and a former teacher and likes to smoke cigars. And he's one of those guys you always ask when you say, "What are you reading?" And he always asks me, "What am I reading?" And I would say he's a little bit to the left of me ideologically, but we don't really discuss politics because relationships are more important to us. And if we did end up discussing politics, it would be just time to do it, and we would do it face to face in a more relaxed setting and would allow the other one to share it a bit. But anyway, we don't. We know where each other stands, but I was just sharing with him that when he asked, "What am I reading?" I said, American Dirt. My daughter recommended it, and I told him a little bit about what it's about. And I just told him, I said, as a conservative, it really helps me to really understand the plight of migrants coming north. And I lived out west. I lived in New Mexico for years. I worked with different various populations. I always have pretty much worked in field of working with people that are somewhat on the margin, so I understand it. I may have a different approach to life than folks on the left, but anyway, I was just really moved by it. And so I shared something on Instagram, just I was reading the book. Well, somebody that had taken a tour several years ago came on and said, "Well, that's not a book for a Trump supporter." And I'm like, "What?" And I wasn't even sure if she was left or right. I didn't care if it was on the left or the right. Ain't nobody got any business telling me what I can read. Anyway, so sure enough, I just said, I disagree. And then she came back and said, well, you're for building the wall. And I'm like, I've never talked about the wall. So she's presuming things. Now, she might be right, but she doesn't know shit about me. I don't know shit about her, but I do know she got in my grill without my permission. And, but it just really got in my craw. Who is to tell me what I'm supposed to read? I don't want anybody on the left telling me I can't read a book that makes me more human and more aware of the frailties of others. And I don't want anybody on the right telling me I can't read the same thing. And just because I'm understanding more about the plight of the victims of narco traffic in Mexico and Central America, doesn't mean I can't be for safety within a nation. And just because I'm for maybe securing our borders for a lot of reasons, child abuse, drugs coming in that are ruining our country, doesn't mean that I shouldn't feel for the plight of migrants. So it's bullshit if anybody tells me I can't read what I need to read. I read what I want, I say what I want, and it just makes me want to get off of social media. I'm just tired of internet warriors. And somebody say, well, you might be doing the same thing, sharing it out there. And well, maybe I am. But I go to ground in a minute. I miss the old days where if I really needed to talk to an author about what he wrote, man, I had to write him a letter. So, if you get pissed at me, write me a letter. If I think it's got merit, I'll write you one back. But I ain't even important enough to worry about writing a letter. But I would suggest reading American Dirt if you have time. Anything that taps more into the God-shaped vacuum within us and helps us to love and understand our fellow man, regardless of politics, is a beautiful thing. So I'm not going to tell you how to think. You don't tell me how to think. I may sometimes share how I think, but you ain't got to think like I do. I ain't got to think like you do. And I ain't going to comment if you think differently than I do, unless we're sitting across from each other breaking bread and doing it in a civil setting, the civilized language. Y'all have a good day. Cheers.